Friday the 13th is considered to be an unlucky day. But where does this superstition come from, and why are we afraid of Friday the 13th? Many people, especially in the Western culture, are afraid of the number 13 and Friday the 13th. The fear of Friday the 13th is sometimes so extreme that many people refuse to travel, to go about their daily tasks, or even leave the house on this day. These people are said to suffer from paraskevi-dekatriaphobia, a word that comes from the Greek words paraskevi, Friday, dekatria, 13, and phobia, fear, phobia. But where does this fear come from? In this video, we will see that this superstition is not as old as one might think. However, it has spread widely because two elements come together here that are believed to bring bad luck, namely Friday and the number 13. When Christianity did not yet exist, Friday was not considered an unlucky day. Quite the opposite. Friday is associated with Venus, the goddess of love. Words that refer to this day in Latin languages were derived from her name. Vendredi in French, Venerdì in Italian, Viernes in Spanish, Viner in Romanian. In Germanic languages, this day was named after the goddess Frigg, the Norse goddess of marriage. Friday in English, Freitag in German, and so on. Therefore, Friday initially had a positive connotation. In astrology, the ruler of this day is also Venus, which means that the day is actually a lucky one, where we experience love and when interactions with other people go well. It's a good day for relaxation and for dedicating ourselves to creative or artistic activities. If there was an unlucky day in ancient Rome, it was Tuesday, the day of the god Mars. As Mars was the god of war, it was easier to interpret this day as an unlucky day compared to Friday. It was only after the spread of Christianity that Friday got a negative connotation. Jesus was crucified on a Friday and died on the same day. Hence the idea that this day might bring bad luck. The first written source where Friday is mentioned as an unlucky day is the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. In one of his stories, Richard the Lionheart is mentioned as having bad luck on a Friday. The author writes that the king was injured on a Friday. In reality, the injury that would lead to Richard's death occurred on the evening of March 25, 1199, which was actually a Thursday. The number 13 holds a special significance in many cultures and religions. In some cases, it is considered to be a lucky number, while in others it is associated with bad luck. In Western culture, there is a belief that it is an unlucky number. Just like the idea that Friday brings bad luck, the superstition regarding the number 13 also has its origins in the Christian religion. During the Last Supper, there were 13 individuals present, with the 13th person being Judas, who betrayed Jesus. This led to the spread of the idea that the number 13 is unlucky. There is a similar story in Norse mythology where god Loki crashed a gathering of 12 other gods and that night killed the god Balder, plunging the earth into darkness. Based on these stories, in some countries people avoid organizing feasts with 13 guests as it is believed that one person will die. In other cultures, such as the Jewish culture, the number 13 has a positive significance. It is the age at which boys are considered adults and full members of the Jewish community, bar mitzvah. The number 13 is also a symbol of maturity and adulthood among those who practice magic. A person must be at least 13 years old to join such a cult. In ancient times, the number 13 symbolized femininity because it represents the number of menstrual cycles a woman has in a year. In numerology, the number 13 represents transformation and development. A similar meaning is attributed to the number 13 in tarot cards. The 13th card is death, but it doesn't necessarily mean physical death, so no one is going to die. It's more about a symbolic death, a significant change in a person's life. When we add the numbers 1 and 3, we get 4, a number that in numerology represents wholeness, order, and materiality. So it has a positive connotation. However, in some parts of Asia, the number 4 is considered negative because its pronunciation in Chinese sounds similar to the word for death. Therefore, just as 13 has a negative meaning in Western culture, the number 4 carries a negative connotation in some parts of Asia. In astrology and astronomy, the number 13 is associated with the blue moon. A lunar phase cycle or lunation lasts approximately 29 days. In a year, there are 12 such cycles, resulting in 12 full moons. However, the number of days in a year does not align perfectly with the 12 lunations. This difference means that each 2 to 3 years there will be 13 full moons in a year. In one of the months, there will be 2 full moons. When there are 4 full moons in a season, the third one of them is called a blue moon. A notable blue moon occurred on the 31st of December 2009, and it coincided with a lunar eclipse. Since the lunar eclipse occurred on New Year's Eve, many people believe that this blue moon had magical powers. As mentioned before, the fear of Friday the 13th arises from the combination of two supposedly negative elements. While one might think that this superstition has existed for a long time, it only became widespread in the 20th century. In his novel The Da Vinci Code, author Dan Brown writes about the dissolution of the Templar Order after their arrest on Friday, October 13, 1307, and their subsequent burning at the stake. Many people believe that this event is connected to the superstition, but this theory has never been confirmed. On the contrary, there are no sources mentioning Friday the 13th as an unlucky day from 1307 until the 20th century. The superstition seems to rather originate from the novel Friday the 13th by Thomas William Lawson. In the novel that was published in 1907, an unscrupulous broker causes the collapse of the Wall Street stock market, and it happens on a Friday, the 13th of the month. In fact, many disasters that occurred on Friday, the 13th or not, are related to the financial sector. There have been several days referred to as Black Friday. The first Black Friday occurred on the 6th of December 1745, when the news spread that the pretender Charles Edward Stuart was marching on London, and that resulted in the first stock market crash in history. It's worth noting that the most famous Black Friday refers to the New York stock market crash of 1929, which actually happened on a Thursday, and it's also referred to as Black Thursday in the United States. Due to the time difference, it was already Friday in Europe, and this contributed to the idea that Friday brings bad luck. But is Friday the 13th really an unlucky day? Over time, numerous statistics have been compiled to determine whether the fear of Friday the 13th is justified. They show that there are indeed more accidents on Fridays. However, this is not the case when Friday falls on the 13th of the month. Quite the opposite. Because people are superstitious and fearful of this day, they tend to be more cautious and alert. As a result, there are fewer accidents in traffic, at home, and so on than on other days. If you enjoyed this video, please watch the next one as well and subscribe to my YouTube channel.